What if Los Zetas cartel had never split apart after 2010 and kept their elite military structure intact? These weren't ordinary criminals. They were former Special Forces soldiers with advanced combat training and military-grade weapons. Instead of fragmenting into competing groups, imagine they stayed unified under one command. Their sophisticated tactics would have crushed rival cartels across Mexico within months. While other gangs fought with pistols, Los Zetas had assault rifles, grenades, and armored vehicles. Their intelligence networks and psychological warfare expertise would have terrorized entire populations into silence. No witnesses, no resistance. Complete control. State by state, they would have expanded, creating a parallel army better equipped than government forces. Their torture techniques and military precision would have made opposition impossible. Within 5 years, Mexico could have become a narco-state controlled by a single militarized cartel. The government would have been powerless against former soldiers who knew every tactical weakness. Only international military intervention could have stopped them. One decision changed everything. Did you know the most dangerous spy in American history worked inside the FBI for over 2 decades? Robert Hansen was a trusted counterintelligence agent with the highest security clearance possible. His job was hunting Russian spies, but he was secretly working for them the entire time. For 22 years, he sold America's deepest secrets using dead drops in suburban parks. While investigating espionage cases by day, he was committing the very crimes he was supposed to stop. The damage was catastrophic. Over 50 Russian intelligence operations were blown, and multiple American agents were executed. The FBI knew they had a mole, but couldn't find him for years. Hansen stayed one step ahead, using his insider knowledge to avoid detection. On February 18, 2001, agents finally caught him red-handed, placing classified documents at a dead drop site. The betrayal was staggering. He had received over $1.4 million for selling out his own country. The man trusted with America's most vital secrets had been Moscow's most valuable asset all along. Did you know that one of America's biggest drug empires was built using the coffins of fallen Vietnam soldiers? Frank Lucas completely bypassed the Italian mafia by flying directly to Thailand's Golden Triangle. He made deals with poppy farmers and then executed the most horrific smuggling operation in history. Lucas bribed U.S. military personnel to hide pure heroin inside the body cavities of dead American servicemen. These sacred coffins, meant to bring heroes home, became his personal drug pipeline. The heroin arrived 100% pure, which he cut and branded as Blue Magic. It was 10 times more potent than anything on the streets. At his peak, Lucas was moving $1 million worth of heroin every single month. He controlled over 40% of Harlem's entire drug trade. His operation only crumbled when Detective Richie Roberts spotted him wearing a $100,000 fur coat at a boxing match. Lucas had turned the most sacred military tradition into his personal fortune. The coffins meant for honor became vessels of destruction. Did you know Mexico's most violent cartel was actually created by the government's own elite soldiers? In 1997, 31 Mexican Army Special Forces deserters formed Los Zetas, transforming drug trafficking forever. These weren't ordinary criminals. They were Mexico's best warriors, trained by U.S. military advisors and Israeli mercenaries in advanced combat tactics. Originally recruited to fight cartels, they switched sides when the Gulf Cartel offered them 10 times their military salary. They brought military-grade weapons, encrypted communications, and coordinated attack strategies to organize crime. While other cartels relied on street thugs, Los Zetas operated like a professional army. They used psychological warfare, precision strikes, and counterinsurgency tactics against rivals and police. Their recruitment strategy was simple but devastating. Target active Special Forces soldiers with massive payoffs. Within years, they had created a private army better equipped than many government forces. They didn't just sell drugs, they waged war using everything their military training had taught them. The elite soldiers meant to protect Mexico became its greatest threat. Did you know a single man convinced a major bank to pay $242 million for an airport that didn't exist? Between 1995 and 1998, Emmanuel Nwoud pulled off one of history's most audacious cons. He impersonated Nigeria's director of civil aviation and targeted a Brazilian bank director. Nwoud created fake government letterheads, detailed airport blueprints, and construction permits that looked completely authentic. For 3 years, he orchestrated elaborate fake site visits to a real but unrelated airfield. The Brazilian banker met with actors posing as government officials and reviewed convincing financial projections. Everything seemed legitimate. The documentation was flawless, the meetings professional. The bank director was so convinced he authorized the massive transfer. But when he finally traveled to Nigeria to inspect his investment, he discovered the truth. The promised airport was nothing but an empty field. No construction, no permits, no government involvement whatsoever. Nude had no official authority, yet convinced an international bank to transfer hundreds of millions for absolutely nothing. This remains one of the largest documented fraud cases in history. Pure deception at its most sophisticated. Did you know America's most wanted criminal escaped from an escape-proof jail using nothing but a carved piece of wood? In March 1934, John Dillinger was locked inside Crown Point Jail, surrounded by 50 guards. The facility was considered impenetrable, designed specifically to hold the nation's most dangerous bank robber. But Dillinger had a plan that would shock the entire country. He carved a fake pistol from a wooden washboard, blackening it with shoe polish until it looked completely real. On March 3rd, he walked up to 33 armed guards and prisoners, threatening them with his wooden weapon. Incredibly, every single person believed the gun was real. He forced guards to open cell doors, marching them through the facility at gunpoint. Then came the ultimate insult. He stole the sheriff's personal car and drove straight across state lines. This made his escape a federal case, triggering a massive nationwide manhunt. The humiliation was complete, but it sealed his fate. 3 months later, FBI agents gunned him down outside a Chicago theater. One wooden gun changed everything. Did you know the most famous heist in American history started with a gambling addict who couldn't pay his debts? In 1978, Louis Werner worked at JFK Airport's Lufthansa cargo terminal and owed serious money to the wrong people. Desperate, he approached Jimmy Burke, a ruthless criminal who saw opportunity in Werner's inside access. For 6 months, Burke's crew studied every detail: guard rotations, alarm systems, cargo schedules. They knew exactly when the biggest shipment would arrive. On December 11th, masked gunmen stormed the terminal at dawn, holding workers at gunpoint while loading $5.8 million in cash and jewelry. The heist was flawless, but Burke's paranoia wasn't. One by one, he started killing his own crew members to eliminate witnesses. Bodies turned up across New York as Burke murdered nearly everyone involved. The irony? He was never convicted for the heist itself, only the murders that followed. Most of the money was never recovered, and Burke's greed destroyed his own perfect crime. Here are 5 things you didn't know about America's first female serial killer who terrorized Florida highways. First, Aileen Wuornos claimed every single killing was self-defense, insisting each victim tried to rape her during prostitution encounters. She painted herself as the victim, not the predator. Second, she developed a deadly pattern that made her nearly impossible to catch. She would shoot Johns with a .22 caliber pistol, then steal their cars and valuables before vanishing. Third, in just 1 year, she killed 7 men, specifically targeting middle-aged traveling salesmen and truck drivers. These were men who wouldn't be missed immediately. Fourth, her lesbian lover Tyria Moore helped dispose of evidence after each murder. But when police closed in, Moore turned state's witness and testified against Wuornos. Fifth, the most chilling revelation came during her confession. She admitted to enjoying the killings and actually asked to be executed. She told authorities she would kill again if released. In 2002, Florida granted her wish with lethal injection. Did you know one man rigged the most sacred event in American sports and never spent a day in jail? Arnold Rothstein, known as the Brain, had already mastered fixing horse races and boxing matches across New York. But in 1919, he set his sights on something bigger: the World Series. Rothstein approached 8 Chicago White Sox players, including the legendary shoeless Joe Jackson. His offer was simple: lose to Cincinnati and split $100,000. What made this possible wasn't just money, it was information. Rothstein's gambling empire had infiltrated every level of professional sports. He knew which players were broke, which were injured, even what managers were planning. The fix worked perfectly. Cincinnati won the series. But when the scandal broke, baseball changed forever. A commissioner was created. 8 players were banned for life. Yet Rothstein walked free, despite overwhelming evidence. When he was murdered in 1928, countless secrets about fixed games died with him. One man's greed rewrote the rules of America's pastime. What if FBI agent John Connolly had been exposed for protecting Whitey Bulger during the height of Boston's gang wars in the 1980s? The moment his corruption became public, Bulger would lose his most valuable protection while being actively hunted by rival Italian mafia families who just discovered his cooperation. The Winter Hill Gang would fragment instantly as members realized their leader was feeding information to law enforcement for years. Defense lawyers would challenge every case involving Connolly's testimony, causing ongoing FBI investigations to collapse like dominoes. But here's where it gets deadly. Rival crime families would unite temporarily with one goal: eliminate Bulger before he could expose more secrets. Boston's streets would become a war zone as every criminal organization hunted the same target. The long-term damage would be catastrophic. The FBI's entire informant program in organized crime cases would collapse completely. Law enforcement would be forced to rebuild their approach to infiltrating criminal organizations from scratch. Bulger's extensive knowledge of police operations would make him a liability that must be eliminated by both sides. One exposed agent would destroy decades of criminal intelligence gathering. Did you know the Sinaloa cartel built an underground empire beneath America that rivals subway systems? Since 1990, authorities have discovered over 230 sophisticated tunnels stretching beneath the US-Mexico border. Some extend over a mile underground, complete with reinforced concrete walls and professional engineering. These aren't crude holes in the ground, they're technological marvels. In 2016, agents found a tunnel with electric rail cars, sophisticated drainage systems, and hydraulic lifts moving tons of drugs. The most advanced ones featured elevators, air conditioning, and lighting systems that could power entire neighborhoods. Rail tracks guided automated carts through ventilated corridors, operating like underground highways. Some tunnels were so well built, they included backup power systems and communication networks. But here's the terrifying reality. Law enforcement estimates they've only discovered about 10% of the actual network. Hundreds more tunnels likely operate beneath major US cities right now. An invisible criminal empire exists directly under our feet. Here are 5 things you didn't know about Willie Sutton, the gentleman bandit who made bank robbery an art form. First, he spent weeks studying each target like a detective investigating a crime scene. Sutton would time guard rotations down to the second, mapping every entrance and exit. He knew when each employee arrived, when they took breaks, even when they went to lunch. Second, he was a master of disguise who could become anyone he needed to be. Police officers, postal workers, window washers. He fooled everyone with perfect costumes and flawless acting. Third, despite robbing dozens of banks, he never carried a loaded gun. Sutton relied purely on psychological intimidation and his acting skills to control situations. Fourth, he would befriend bank employees for months before striking. These relationships gave him inside information about alarm systems and security procedures. Fifth, the most shocking fact, he escaped from prison 3 times using elaborate schemes. Digging tunnels, impersonating guards, even walking out the front door in disguise. His escapes made him more famous than his actual robberies. Did you know that 7 random deaths in Chicago completely changed how every medicine bottle is sealed worldwide? In September 1982, people started dying after taking extra-strength Tylenol capsules. But this wasn't a manufacturing error. Someone had walked into stores, removed bottles from shelves and filled capsules with deadly cyanide, then calmly placed them back on the shelves for innocent shoppers to buy. 7 people died within days, including a 12-year-old girl. The killer's method was terrifyingly simple. Anyone could become a victim just by picking the wrong bottle. Johnson & Johnson made an unprecedented decision. They recalled 31 million bottles nationwide, losing $100 million instantly. 140 FBI agents launched one of the largest investigations in Bureau history. The case created tamper-evident seals, new federal laws, and revolutionized pharmaceutical packaging forever. But here's the chilling part. After 40 years and countless leads, the Tylenol killer was never caught. The case remains open, and the methodology inspired copycat poisonings worldwide. A perfect crime that changed everything. What if Manuel Noriega had kept his CIA protection while expanding his drug empire throughout the 1980s? The immediate result would have been catastrophic. The Medellin cartel would gain unlimited access to U.S. territory through Panama. With full intelligence protection, cocaine trafficking would explode exponentially. CIA-protected routes would flood American cities with drugs while remaining completely untouchable. Other Latin American dictators would quickly realize they could run criminal enterprises under U.S. intelligence cover. The entire Central American region would transform into a narco-state network backed by American agencies. Drug money would corrupt every level of government, from local police to federal officials. The long-term impact would be devastating. The war on drugs would collapse entirely as the CIA becomes a criminal protection racket. Government-protected cartels would operate freely on American soil, triggering epidemic levels of drug violence. Cities would become war zones as rival cartels fight for territory with government backing. The United States could face civil war as citizens realize their own intelligence agencies protect the criminals destroying their communities. One protected dictator could have brought down an entire nation. Did you know one man's greed nearly brought down all of Wall Street? In the 1980s, Ivan Boesky was known as the king of arbitrage, making $50 million a year from stock trades. But behind his success was the largest insider trading empire in history. Boesky built a secret network of corporate insiders who fed him merger information before public announcements. He lived by one philosophy: greed is good. His illegal trades were worth over $200 million, funding private jets and luxury estates. But the SEC was closing in, slowly unraveling his web of corruption. In 1986, facing prison time, Boesky made a shocking confession. He agreed to cooperate and wear a wire to catch bigger fish. His betrayal implicated Michael Milken and dozens of Wall Street executives. The scandal destroyed careers overnight and changed securities law forever. Boesky paid a $100 million fine, the largest in history. One man's greed had brought down an entire system. Did you know the U.S. government once deliberately armed Mexican drug cartels with 2,000 deadly weapons? In 2009, ATF agents launched Operation Fast and Furious. Their plan seemed brilliant on paper. Let dangerous guns walk across the border into cartel hands, then track them to expose the entire trafficking network. But this sophisticated surveillance operation quickly became a nightmare. Agents lost track of the weapons almost immediately. The guns vanished into the criminal underworld like ghosts. No GPS trackers, no real-time monitoring. Just hope that the firearms would surface at crime scenes. The devastating consequences came fast. Those same weapons started appearing at murder scenes across Mexico. Then the unthinkable happened. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was gunned down during a firefight. The weapons used? Guns from Fast and Furious. Congressional investigators were shocked. The ATF had literally armed the very criminals they were trying to stop. Cartel members were now better equipped thanks to American law enforcement. The operation designed to dismantle gun trafficking networks had instead strengthened them with government-supplied firepower. Did you know a 25-year-old Russian immigrant fooled Manhattan's elite into believing she was worth $60 million? Anna Sorokin had a brilliant plan. She would become Anna Delvey, a wealthy German heiress with a massive trust fund. But this wasn't just about changing her name. Anna created fake bank statements showing millions in her accounts. She forged legal documents proving her fake inheritance. She even hired private jets she couldn't afford, all to look the part. Her targets, the richest people in New York City. She moved into luxury hotels, running up bills worth hundreds of thousands. When hotels asked for payment, she showed them her fake documents and promised the money was coming. Banks fell for it too. They loaned her massive amounts based on her forged paperwork. Wealthy socialites invited her to exclusive parties, believing she was one of them. For months, Anna lived like a millionaire while being completely broke. She ate at the finest restaurants, wore designer clothes, and partied with celebrities. But every con has an ending, and Anna's was about to come crashing down. Did you know a millionaire once faked his own death by crashing his plane into a swamp, only to parachute out and try to disappear forever? Marcus Schrenker was in big trouble. He'd stolen $9 million from investors, and the FBI was closing in. So he came up with a crazy plan. In 2009, Schrenker took off in his private plane. While flying over Alabama, he sent fake distress emails claiming engine failure. But he was actually putting on a parachute. He jumped out, letting his empty plane crash into a swamp below. Meanwhile, he landed safely and found a motorcycle he'd hidden in the woods weeks earlier. Using fake ID, he rode to a campground in Florida, but investigators got suspicious fast. They found he'd been researching parachuting online and buying survival gear before his accident. The plane wreckage told a different story too. After a massive manhunt, police tracked him down at the campground. When they surrounded him, Schrenker tried to kill himself rather than face capture. His elaborate death hoax had completely failed. Did you know the biggest drug dealers in America wore suits and worked in boardrooms? The Sackler family didn't use street corners. They used something far more dangerous: lies wrapped in lab coats. In 1996, Purdue Pharma launched OxyContin with a massive deception. Internal documents later revealed executives knew their drug was highly addictive, but they trained sales reps to tell doctors it was safer than morphine. Their target? Vulnerable communities in Appalachia where injury rates ran high. They flooded these areas with misleading studies and luxury incentives for doctors. The scheme was methodical. Purdue tracked which doctors prescribed the most pills, then rewarded them with speaker fees and all expenses paid conferences. The more pills prescribed, the bigger the rewards. Sales reps carried quotas like any drug dealer, just with briefcases instead of backpacks. The aftermath? Over 500,000 overdose deaths across America. When justice finally came, the Sacklers tried shielding their billions through bankruptcy court. Victims' families received minimal compensation, while the family kept their fortune. The perfect crime until it wasn't. Did you know one of America's most powerful crime bosses fooled the FBI for 30 years by pretending to be crazy? Vincent "the Chin" Gigante ruled the Genovese crime family while wandering Greenwich Village in a bathrobe and slippers. He mumbled to himself, talked to lampposts, and even urinated in public. The FBI watched him every day, thinking he was just a harmless old man losing his mind. But behind this act, Gigante controlled a criminal empire worth hundreds of millions. He ran labor unions, construction deals, and massive gambling operations. During court hearings, he sat in a wheelchair while family members spoke for him. Doctors declared him mentally unfit for trial. For 3 decades, this elaborate performance worked perfectly. Agents followed a shuffling man in pajamas, while one of the most dangerous mob bosses in history operated in plain sight. Then in 1997, prosecutors played secret recordings that changed everything. The tapes captured Gigante giving detailed criminal orders in perfect clarity. His voice was sharp, his mind completely clear. The greatest act in organized crime history was finally over. Did you know one obsessed fan destroyed a music legend's life with a single bullet? Yolanda Saldivar started as just another Selena fan, but she was different. She convinced Selena's family to let her run the singer's fan club and boutiques. For years, Yolanda seemed like the perfect employee. She worked long hours and acted devoted. But behind the scenes, she was stealing. She embezzled over $60,000. She forged checks and created fake financial records to hide her crimes. In March 1995, Selena discovered the theft. She confronted Yolanda at a Corpus Christi motel, demanding to see the real financial documents. As Selena tried to leave, Yolanda shot her in the back. What happened next was chaos. Yolanda held police in a 10-hour standoff in the motel parking lot, pressing a gun to her own head. Selena's death shocked the world. Latino communities everywhere mourned. The tragedy made Selena an even bigger icon than before. A trusted friend's betrayal had silenced one of music's brightest stars forever. Did you know the biggest bank robbery in history wasn't done with guns or explosives, but with a pen and a presidential seal? Ferdinand Marcos didn't rob banks, he robbed an entire country. For 20 years, this Filipino dictator turned the national treasury into his personal piggy bank, stealing over $10 billion through fake contracts and secret Swiss accounts. While his people starved under martial law, Marcos lived like a king. Gold toilets, diamond-studded everything, and his wife Imelda's infamous 3,000 pairs of shoes, all bought with stolen money. His money laundering operation was masterful. Shell companies moved cash through artwork purchases and offshore accounts. Swiss bankers became his accomplices, hiding billions in numbered accounts across Europe. But every criminal empire falls. In 1986, millions of angry Filipinos surrounded his palace. The People Power Revolution forced Marcos to flee like a common thief in the night, escaping to Hawaii with suitcases full of cash and jewelry. The aftermath: treasure hunters still search for hidden Marcos gold today. Billions remain missing while the Philippines continues paying off his fraudulent debts decades later.
On the evening of May 3, 2007, 3-year-old Madeleine McCann vanished from her family's holiday apartment in Praia da Luz, Portugal, sparking one of the most infamous missing child cases in history. Madeleine was sleeping in a ground-floor bedroom with her twin siblings, while her parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, dined at a nearby tapas restaurant with friends. The parents checked on the children periodically, but around 10 p.m., Kate discovered Madeleine was gone. Despite a massive search and international media attention, no trace of Madeleine has ever been conclusively found. The Portuguese police initially suspected the parents, but later shifted their focus to other suspects, including convicted criminals who were in the area. Over the years, countless theories have emerged: abduction by a stranger, a botched burglary, or an organized child trafficking ring. Despite multiple investigations and renewed efforts, the case remains unsolved. Madeleine's disappearance continues to haunt investigators and the public, serving as a painful reminder of how quickly a child can vanish without a trace.
Did you know that in the 1980s, the FBI discovered that justice in Chicago was literally being sold to the highest bidder? Operation Greylord was the most shocking judicial corruption sting in American history. Over 90 judges, lawyers, and court officials were investigated for taking bribes to fix cases. For 3 years, FBI agents posed as corrupt lawyers, secretly recording everything. They watched judges accept $100 bills to reduce drunk driving charges. Murder defendants walked free after $10,000 payments. Case outcomes in Cook County were being auctioned off like merchandise. One judge was caught on tape saying prices for different verdicts like he was reading a menu. The recordings revealed decades of systematic corruption in America's third largest city. When the operation ended, 17 judges were convicted and sent to prison. The entire court system had to be completely restructured from the ground up. Justice had been for sale, and the FBI had the receipts to prove it. Did you know the biggest theft in Bitcoin history happened right under everyone's nose for years? In 2014, Mt. Gox was handling 70% of all Bitcoin transactions worldwide. But CEO Mark Karpeles was hiding a devastating secret. His exchange had been secretly bankrupt since 2011. Hackers had been exploiting a coding flaw called transaction malleability, stealing coins for years. Instead of reporting it, Karpeles used new customer deposits to cover the missing funds. He created fake trading bots that generated artificial volume to hide the losses. When customers tried to withdraw their money, he blamed technical difficulties. Delays stretched from days to months while panic spread. Then on February 24, 2014, Mt. Gox suddenly went offline forever. 850,000 Bitcoins worth $450 million had vanished into thin air. That was 7% of every Bitcoin that existed. But the most shocking twist came later, when investigators discovered Karpeles had secretly found 200,000 missing Bitcoins in an old wallet and never told anyone. Here are 5 things you didn't know about Charles Sobraj, the serial killer who hunted backpackers across Asia. First, he specifically targeted young Western travelers on the hippie trail by posing as a helpful local guide. He'd offer them hospitality, invite them for drinks, then slip poison into their beverages while they weren't looking. Second, he earned the nickname the Serpent for his incredible ability to escape from prison repeatedly. He bribed guards with stolen money, faked serious illnesses to get transferred to hospitals, and even seduced female staff members to help him break out. Third, Sobraj used passports stolen from his victims to assume their complete identities while crossing borders. This made him nearly impossible for authorities to track as he moved between countries using dead people's names. Fourth, when murder charges in Thailand were about to expire, he deliberately committed small crimes in India. He wanted to be safely imprisoned there rather than face execution. Fifth, after serving 21 years, he returned to France as a celebrity, charging journalists thousands for interviews and inspiring a Bollywood movie about his crimes.
On January 24, 2006, Jennifer Kesey, a 24-year-old financial analyst living in Orlando, Florida, vanished without a trace. The night before, she spoke with her boyfriend and was last seen leaving her workplace late in the evening. The following morning, Jennifer failed to show up for work, raising immediate concern among her family and friends. 2 days later, her car was discovered parked at a nearby apartment complex, but there were no signs of a struggle or forced entry. Security footage captured a person of interest parking her car and walking away, yet the images were too grainy to identify the individual. Jennifer's condo showed no signs of forced entry, and all her personal belongings, including her phone, keys, and purse, were missing. Despite extensive searches, interviews, and national media attention, no substantial leads emerged. Investigators considered various theories, from abduction by a stranger to involvement by someone she knew, but nothing could be confirmed. Nearly 2 decades later, Jennifer Kess's disappearance remains one of Florida's most haunting unsolved mysteries, leaving her loved ones desperate for answers and justice.
What if Bernie Madoff's $65 billion Ponzi scheme had never been exposed in 2008? Without the financial crisis forcing investors to withdraw their money, Madoff's fake empire would have kept growing. By 2012, it could have reached over $200 billion as panicked investors flocked to his guaranteed 12% returns. Major banks and pension funds would have become completely dependent on his fabricated profits. He would have been too big to fail. To maintain the illusion, Madoff would have expanded globally, corrupting entire national economies with fake investment returns. Legitimate firms couldn't compete with his impossible profits, creating a shadow banking system. When the scheme inevitably collapsed at this massive scale, it would have triggered a global financial apocalypse. The 2008 crisis would have looked like a minor hiccup in comparison. Tens of millions would have lost their retirement funds overnight. Government bailouts would have exceeded entire national budgets. One man's lie could have destroyed the world economy.
Imagine waking up on a cruise ship only to find your loved one missing without a trace. In March 1998, Amy Lynn Bradley, a 23-year-old from Virginia, disappeared while vacationing with her family on Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas. The ship was sailing near Curacao when Amy vanished from her cabin's balcony in the early morning hours. Despite extensive searches of the vessel and surrounding waters, no physical evidence or clues were discovered. Amy was last seen alive around 5:30 a.m., and her family insists she was not the type to disappear voluntarily. Theories range from accidental drowning to abduction, with some passengers claiming to have seen her with crew members shortly before her disappearance. Over the years, alleged sightings of Amy have surfaced in various Caribbean locales, fueling speculation she may have been forced into human trafficking. Despite international attention and her family's relentless pursuit for answers, Amy Lynn Bradley's fate remains one of the most haunting and perplexing unsolved mysteries at sea.
What if insurance fraudster Martin Frankel had never expanded internationally and stayed hidden in America? In the late 1990s, his $200 million scheme was just getting started. His network of shell companies and fake reinsurance operations continued draining insurance funds across multiple states, completely undetected. Using his Vatican connections and forged documents, he began acquiring more insurance companies one by one. Soon he controlled billions in policyholder funds, creating a shadow insurance empire. Legitimate claims went unpaid while premiums flowed directly into his offshore accounts. Entire state insurance markets started collapsing without anyone realizing the money was already gone. Millions of Americans lost their life insurance and annuity benefits overnight. State insurance guarantee funds needed massive government bailouts to survive. Meanwhile, his religious front organizations provided diplomatic immunity, letting him operate globally without interference. One man's greed could have destroyed the entire American insurance system from within. The perfect invisible crime. Did you know 2 brilliant students tried to commit the perfect murder and were caught by a pair of glasses? In 1924, Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb were wealthy University of Chicago students obsessed with proving their intellectual superiority. Influenced by Nietzschean philosophy, they believed they were above moral law and decided to commit the perfect crime. For 6 months, they planned every detail. They studied victim patterns, secured alibis, and prepared ransom notes on a stolen typewriter. On May 21st, they lured 14-year-old Bobby Franks into their car, killed him with a chisel, then poured acid on his face. They dumped the body in a culvert and demanded $10,000 from his wealthy family. While pretending to help search efforts, they waited to collect their ransom. But investigators found something they never considered near the body: Leopold's custom-made eyeglasses. Only 3 people in all of Chicago owned that exact pair. Their perfect crime unraveled instantly. Clarence Darrow's 12-hour closing argument barely saved them from execution. One overlooked detail destroyed 6 months of meticulous planning. Here are 5 things you didn't know about Operation Abscam, the FBI sting that exposed massive political corruption. First, FBI agents created a fake Arab sheikh offering bribes to politicians for immigration help and special favors. They set up elaborate meetings in hotel rooms and yachts, complete with hidden cameras rolling. Second, 6 members of Congress were caught on tape taking envelopes stuffed with cash. They promised to introduce private bills and influence legislation in exchange for the money. Third, one senator was recorded saying, "I've got larceny in my blood," while stuffing $50,000 into his pockets. He didn't even hesitate when offered the bribe. Fourth, corruption was so widespread that politicians never questioned why random Arabs were offering massive bribes. They just took the money without asking questions. Fifth, the most shocking part? This entire operation started as an investigation into stolen art recovery. The FBI accidentally stumbled onto political corruption so deep it convicted 1 senator, 6 representatives, and changed federal investigations forever. Did you know Australia's most notorious serial killer turned a backpacker paradise into a hunting ground? In the early 1990s, the Pacific Highway was every young traveler's dream route. International backpackers hitchhiked freely, seeking adventure and freedom across Australia's stunning landscape. Then they started disappearing. Even Mila appeared as just another helpful local, offering rides to stranded hitchhikers along the highway. But instead of safety, he drove them straight to Belanglo State Forest, his personal killing ground. 7 bodies were eventually discovered, all buried in the same remote forest. Each victim had been shot or stabbed with chilling precision, like military execution. The massive police investigation stretched across multiple states for years, until Mila's own brother made a shocking discovery. Suspicious items hidden on the family property led to a devastating breakthrough. When police raided Milat's home in 1994, they found an arsenal of weapons and victims' belongings. But the most terrifying discovery was his collection of camping gear, sleeping bags, and personal items from dozens of victims. The evidence suggested many more murders than the 7 proven cases. Here are 5 things you didn't know about Carl Gagosian, America's most successful bank robber. First, he only struck on Friday evenings when banks held maximum cash for weekend operations, but ran skeleton crews. This timing gave him the perfect storm of high rewards and minimal resistance. Second, his preparation was obsessive. He spent months watching each target, photographing layouts and memorizing guard schedules. Every robbery was planned like a military operation because that's exactly what it was. Third, as a former Special Forces soldier, he used smoke grenades and night vision equipment during heists. Banks couldn't fight what they couldn't see. Fourth, he stored weapons in hidden forest caches across multiple states, never using the same escape route twice. His paranoia kept him invisible for 3 decades. Fifth, the most shocking truth. This master criminal was caught in 2002 through DNA evidence, revealing he'd stolen over $2 million. By day, he was a respected university statistics professor, the perfect cover for the perfect crime. Did you know one of America's most notorious serial killers spent 30 years enforcing the very laws meant to protect his victims? Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, worked as a compliance officer for Wichita during his entire murder spree. By day, he investigated code violations and conducted home inspections. By night, he used that same access to study his victims' routines and security systems. The twisted irony gets worse. He attended memorial services for people he murdered, comforting grieving families while secretly collecting newspaper clippings about his own crimes. His position gave him inside knowledge of police procedures, helping him stay 1 step ahead of investigators for 3 decades. But his ego became his downfall. In 2005, he sent police a floppy disk, asking if they could trace it back to him. They lied and said no. The metadata led them straight to his church computer. The man who spent decades hiding in plain sight was finally caught by his own arrogance. What if CIA officer Aldrich Ames had never been caught in 1994? The immediate consequences would have been devastating. Dozens more American intelligence assets in Russia, would have been executed as Ames continued feeding their identities to the KGB. But that was just the beginning. As his CIA career progressed, Ames would have gained access to even more classified operations, potentially exposing every American spy network in Eastern Europe. Russia would have achieved complete intelligence superiority during the post-Cold War period, knowing every American operation before it happened. Using his $2.7 million in Russian payments as seed money, Ames could have recruited additional moles, corrupting entire intelligence agencies from within. The cascade effect would have been catastrophic. American intelligence capabilities would have collapsed globally, allowing hostile nations to operate freely. The CIA would unknowingly report false information provided by double agents. The balance of international power would shift for decades. One uncaught spy could have rewritten history itself. Did you know a federal judge literally sold verdicts to the highest bidder for over 20 years? Thomas Porteous wore judicial robes in New Orleans while running the most corrupt courtroom in American history. Bail bondsmen would slip him cash envelopes and he would set bond amounts exactly as requested. Defense attorneys paid for acquittals. Prosecutors bought convictions. Justice became an auction house where whoever paid more won the case. He disguised bribes as consulting fees, accepted free luxury trips, and expensive dinners at five-star restaurants. While defendants sat in jail cells, Porteous gambled their bribe money away at casinos. The FBI investigation revealed a 20-year crime spree hidden behind a judge's bench. In 2010, Congress impeached him after discovering the shocking truth. Hundreds of criminal cases had to be reviewed because verdicts were purchased, not decided by evidence. Victims and defendants realized their fates were never determined by law or justice. They were sold to whoever paid the judge more money. One man turned an entire courthouse into his personal criminal enterprise. Did you know Britain's biggest burglary was pulled off by a crew of pensioners? On Easter weekend 2015, 4 men aged 58 to 76 broke into the Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Vault in London. These weren't your typical criminals. They were grandparents with bad knees and hearing aids, but they had diamond-tipped drilling equipment and hydraulic rams. For 2 years, they planned every detail, even renting a nearby building to practice drilling through concrete. Over 60 hours, they worked through the holiday weekend, boring through a 20-inch concrete wall. They cracked open 73 safety deposit boxes, stealing 14 million pounds worth of jewelry and cash. The alarm went off, but security ignored it because of the holiday. The perfect crime by the perfect criminals, except for one thing. CCTV cameras caught everything. Police tracked their every movement using old-fashioned detective work. Within weeks, the elderly crew was behind bars. Age and experience couldn't beat modern surveillance. What if Zacharias Musui had never been arrested and successfully boarded United Flight 93 on September 11? The so-called 20th hijacker was detained weeks earlier during suspicious flight training. But imagine he had slipped through and joined the 4 hijackers already aboard. With 5 trained operatives instead of 4, the passenger revolt that brought down Flight 93 would have failed. An additional hijacker could have overpowered the brave passengers fighting back. The plane would have reached its intended target, either the Capitol building or the White House. If Congress was in session, the entire legislative branch could have been wiped out instantly. Or if the White House was hit, the executive leadership managing the crisis would be gone. With key decision makers dead, America's response would have collapsed into chaos. No coordinated military action, no unified government response during the most critical hours. The federal government would have faced complete paralysis when leadership was needed most. Martial law might have been declared, creating a constitutional crisis lasting years. One more hijacker could have changed everything. Here are 5 things you didn't know about Pablo Escobar's insane money laundering empire that moves $70 million every single week. First, he bought an entire airline just to smuggle cash out of America in cargo holds. Planes filled with dirty money flew back to Colombia daily, disguised as regular commercial flights. Second, he built an actual submarine fleet to transport millions underwater between Colombia and Panama. These weren't toy subs. They were full-sized vessels carrying briefcases of cash beneath the ocean. Third, he established a network of legitimate businesses, including soccer teams and radio stations as fronts. Every business was secretly washing millions through fake transactions and inflated contracts. Fourth, he bribed bank officials across multiple countries to accept massive cash deposits without any reporting. Entire banking systems were corrupted to handle his endless stream of drug money. Fifth, the most shocking fact, he was literally burning $2 million in cash every month just to keep his daughter warm during hideouts. He had so much money that his 15,000 employees worldwide couldn't launder it fast enough. Did you know Alaska's most respected baker was secretly hunting human beings for sport? Robert Hansen owned a popular bakery in Anchorage and seemed like the perfect family man. But from 1971 to 1983, he was living a horrifying double life. Hansen would cruise the red light district, picking up prostitutes and exotic dancers. Then he'd fly them to remote wilderness cabins in his private plane. Once there, he'd strip them naked and release them into the frozen tundra. Armed with high-powered rifles and crossbows, he'd hunt them like wild animals. For 12 years, at least 17 women disappeared this way. Their bodies were buried in shallow graves across Alaska's vast wilderness. Police finally connected his hunting trophies to missing persons cases. Everything unraveled in 1983 when Cindy Paulson escaped his torture cabin. Her detailed testimony exposed his twisted hunting rituals. When authorities searched his home, they found aviation charts marking burial sites. Each red X represented another victim in his sick game. Did you know that Nigerian advance fee fraud isn't run by desperate individuals, but by billion-dollar criminal empires? These aren't random scammers working from home. They operate from massive cyber cafes in Lagos with hundreds of employees working around the clock in organized shifts. These syndicates generate over $3 billion annually by psychologically profiling their targets. They specifically hunt for lonely elderly people and financially desperate victims on dating sites and social media. Their operations are terrifyingly sophisticated, creating elaborate fake documents, including forged government letterheads and fabricated death certificates. They even produce fake diplomatic pouches to make their schemes look official. The most successful scammers live in mansions and drive luxury cars through Lagos, while their victims lose their entire life savings. Here's the most disturbing part. Less than 1% of these criminals are ever prosecuted. They operate across international boundaries, making this one of the world's most profitable and consequence-free criminal enterprises. Billions stolen, lives destroyed, justice almost never served. Did you know Japan's most respected businessman secretly commanded 30,000 criminals? By day, Yoshinori Watanabe attended charity galas and cultural ceremonies, shaking hands with politicians and community leaders. By night, he ran the Yamaguchi-gumi, Japan's largest crime syndicate. His empire stretched across the entire country. Pachinko parlors, real estate developments, entertainment districts, all generating billions in criminal proceeds, laundered through legitimate corporations. After major earthquakes, his companies mysteriously won massive reconstruction contracts. The FBI watched him for decades, but he always stayed one step ahead. His sophisticated money laundering network made him untouchable. Until 2005, when everything collapsed. Police raided his offices, seizing detailed financial records that revealed the shocking truth. Billions in criminal money flowing through respected businesses. His arrest exposed corruption reaching the highest levels of Japanese government. Politicians, businessmen, all connected to his criminal empire. The respected philanthropist was actually Japan's most powerful crime boss. Here are 5 things you didn't know about Harold Shipman, Britain's most deadly serial killer. First, this trusted family doctor murdered an estimated 250 patients over 23 years while being celebrated as a caring physician. His colleagues praised his dedication, patients loved him. But behind closed doors, he was systematically killing the people who trusted him most. Second, he specifically targeted elderly women living alone, injecting them with lethal doses of diamorphine during routine house calls. He knew they were vulnerable, isolated, and unlikely to be immediately discovered. Third, he forged medical records to cover his tracks, convincing grieving families that sudden deaths were completely natural. Even when obvious signs pointed to foul play, his reputation made people trust his explanations. Fourth, he altered victims' wills to inherit their money, then comforted their families at funerals while secretly profiting from their deaths. Fifth, he was only caught because one victim's daughter happened to be a lawyer who noticed suspicious changes in her mother's will. Her investigation led to body exhumations that revealed massive opiate overdoses. Trust betrayed on an unimaginable scale. Did you know a French aristocrat murdered his entire family and vanished so completely that he's still missing over a decade later? Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès seemed like the perfect family man, but in 2011, he executed the most chilling family annihilation in French history. This businessman spent weeks planning every detail while maintaining his normal routine. He even drove his children to school on the morning he killed them. One by one, he shot his wife and 4 kids, then buried them under his house patio like they never existed. But here's the terrifying part. He had crafted fake letters claiming his family entered witness protection. For 15 days, neighbors thought they were safe in hiding, while their bodies decomposed beneath concrete. He used those 2 weeks to dispose of evidence across multiple locations and disappear completely. Despite hundreds of sightings across Europe and massive international manhunts, he remains a ghost. Over 10 years later, he's still France's most wanted fugitive, a man who erased his family and himself without leaving a single trace. What if the world's most wanted terrorist had never been caught? In 1994, French agents captured Ilich Ramirez Sanchez, better known as Carlos the Jackal. But what if he had escaped that day and vanished into the digital age? His network of safe houses across Europe and the Middle East would have remained intact. Revolutionary contacts from his decades of operations still loyal and waiting. Carlos spoke 6 languages fluently and had mastered the art of forged identities. In an era of increased global travel, he would have been nearly impossible to track. His continued freedom would have inspired copycat attacks worldwide, young radicals flocking to learn from the legendary terrorists who outsmarted every intelligence agency. Training camps would have sprouted across remote regions, producing hundreds of new operatives. His survival could have changed the entire landscape of international terrorism. Other high-value targets might never have been captured, learning his evasion techniques. One man's freedom potentially reshaping global security forever. The jackal who never got caged. Did you know corrupt officials once executed a judge and his wife in broad daylight to cover up their crimes? Judge Vincent Sherry was investigating illegal gambling operations in Biloxi, Mississippi in 1987. He had uncovered connections between local politicians and criminal enterprises. The death threats started coming immediately, but he refused to back down. On September 14th, professional killers entered the Sherry home during the day. They executed both Vincent and his wife Margaret with silenced weapons, military precision. What happened next shocked everyone. The FBI investigation revealed the murder was ordered by the mayor, police chief, and strip club owners. An entire city government had been purchased by organized crime. They were running drug trafficking and money laundering operations through Mississippi's Gulf Coast. The judge wasn't their only target. They were eliminating witnesses and honest officials one by one. The aftermath was staggering. Over a dozen officials convicted, the entire government restructured. Organized crime had literally bought a city. Did you know a religious cult turned San Francisco into a hunting ground where white people were worth points? In October 1973, random shootings began terrorizing the city. No robbery, no clear motive, just execution-style killings of innocent victims walking down the street. What police didn't know was a group called the Death Angels had created a twisted game. Members earned wings by killing white people. Men were worth 10 points, women 5, children 4. For 179 days, 71 people became victims in this sick competition. The city went into lockdown. Roadblocks everywhere, curfews imposed, panic spreading through every neighborhood. Police had no leads, no patterns, just bodies piling up from seemingly random attacks. Then Anthony Harris, a member of the cult, broke his silence. He revealed the horrifying truth about the point system and identified the killers. But the biggest shock came later. This wasn't just San Francisco. The Death Angels had cells in multiple cities, planning coordinated racial terrorism across America. Did you know Mexico's most violent cartel was actually created by the government's own elite soldiers? In 1997, 31 Mexican Army Special Forces deserters formed Los Zetas, transforming drug trafficking forever. These weren't ordinary criminals. They were Mexico's best warriors, trained by U.S. military advisors and Israeli mercenaries in advanced combat tactics. Originally recruited to fight cartels, they switched sides when the Gulf Cartel offered them 10 times their military salary. They brought military-grade weapons, encrypted communications, and coordinated attack strategies to organize crime. While other cartels relied on street thugs, Los Zetas operated like a professional army. They used psychological warfare, precision strikes, and counterinsurgency tactics against rivals and police. Their recruitment strategy was simple but devastating. Target active special forces soldiers with massive payoffs. Within years, they had created a private army better equipped than many government forces. They didn't just sell drugs, they waged war using everything their military training had taught them. The elite soldiers meant to protect Mexico became its greatest threat. Did you know that one of America's biggest drug empires was built using the coffins of fallen Vietnam soldiers? Frank Lucas completely bypassed the Italian mafia by flying directly to Thailand's Golden Triangle. He made deals with poppy farmers and then executed the most horrific smuggling operation in history. Lucas bribed U.S. military personnel to hide pure heroin inside the body cavities of dead American servicemen. These sacred coffins, meant to bring heroes home, became his personal drug pipeline. The heroin arrived 100% pure, which he cut and branded as Blue Magic. It was 10 times more potent than anything on the streets. At his peak, Lucas was moving $1 million worth of heroin every single month. He controlled over 40% of Harlem's entire drug trade. His operation only crumbled when Detective Richie Roberts spotted him wearing a $100,000 fur coat at a boxing match. Lucas had turned the most sacred military tradition into his personal fortune. The coffins meant for honor became vessels of destruction. Did you know a mafia boss once declared open war on an entire government and nearly won? In 1993, Salvatore Toto Riina decided traditional organized crime wasn't enough. He wanted to bring Italy to its knees. His first targets were anti-mafia judges Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. Riina didn't just order simple assassinations, he planned military-scale attacks. 1,000 pounds of explosives detonated on a highway, killing Falcone and his entire security team. 2 months later, a remote-controlled car bomb turned a Palermo street into a war zone, eliminating Borsellino. For 23 years, Riina remained Italy's most wanted fugitive while ordering hit after hit. Prosecutors, police officials, politicians all fell to his assassination campaign. The shocking part? When police finally caught him in 1993, he was living quietly as a respected businessman, just miles from police headquarters in Palermo. His final tally was staggering, over 150 murders, including women and children. One man's reign of terror that made most wars look peaceful. What if Los Zetas cartel had never split apart after 2010 and kept their elite military structure intact? These weren't ordinary criminals. They were former Special Forces soldiers with advanced combat training and military-grade weapons. Instead of fragmenting into competing groups, imagine they stayed unified under one command. Their sophisticated tactics would have crushed rival cartels across Mexico within months. While other gangs fought with pistols, Los Zetas had assault rifles, grenades, and armored vehicles. Their intelligence networks and psychological warfare expertise would have terrorized entire populations into silence. No witnesses, no resistance. Complete control. State by state, they would have expanded, creating a parallel army better equipped than government forces. Their torture techniques and military precision would have made opposition impossible. Within 5 years, Mexico could have become a narco-state controlled by a single militarized cartel. The government would have been powerless against former soldiers who knew every tactical weakness. Only international military intervention could have stopped them. One decision changed everything.